I just started making standard operating procedures, SOPs, to outsource all of my client delivery work eventually. And I thought I'd just share my current process for doing it. One, to get some feedback from anyone that's very good, and two, just to help anyone who is thinking about this but doesn't know where to start. This is where I've started. So I needed a database to map out every single task before I just started creating these SOPs willy-nilly. So I'm using Airtable for this. So I set up a Airtable table for every service. So I'm just going to look at the WordPress website right now. And this is by far not the finished article, but every task is down in the first column. And what is eventually going to be is every task has a Google Doc link, which looks like this. I'll go through that in a second. An internal video. So I'm using Loom. I'm making a Loom about making looms. How very meta. So it will have a Loom video link there. And then eventually I want to make a public YouTube for each one of these, just to really increase the surface area of my brand. Who is the assignee? So right now it's just me. Eventually this won't just be Alex Northrall. This will be a bunch of very capable people. And then what stage it's at. I'm having this stage now because I just wanted to separate where each of them sit. Okay, so that's how I'm starting to plan this, which is I'm taking one service at a time. I'm writing down my exact process. When you do this for the first time, you're amazed. Well, I was amazed how many steps there actually are. And I'm doing this, willy-nilly and not following a process. So I think even just writing this list down is very good. And it's not a finished list. I'm adding new stuff to it, and it's not in the right order. So don't read into these too much. Just this is a way to think about it. So each one will have a name, a Google Doc link, internal video explanation, YouTube video, assignee, and a stage. So once I've got that, I then come into Loom and I started recording a video. So I then went through the exact process. For this one, I was setting up a temporary site in SiteGround. This is the very first stage of the build process for WordPress. So I went through myself and wrote down the exact steps of doing the task. And you'll see ChatGPT up here. What Loom then does is very handily gives me a transcript. So I copied that transcript. I took it to ChatGPT and I said, please make me an SOP from this transcript. Simple language, no fluff. So I found if you don't put this simple language, no fluff, it tries to embellish it and make it sound more important. All I want is the steps. So then I paste the transcript, and this is what was spit out by ChatGPT. I quite like this. Standard operating procedure for creating a new website in SiteGround. Access SiteGround dashboard, navigate to da-da-da-da-da. And it just goes through, and it really put the steps well. You will have to check through this, but just as a starting point, that's pretty good. So we've got the database. We then record the task. We then get the transcript and we get the steps in ChatGPT. I created then a Google Doc template. I really love how easy it is to share Google Docs and keep everything in Drive. Who knows if that will stay the same, but I created this template, which I will use for every SOP. Probably make an SOP for how to make an SOP, very meta. It's basically this, and I'll jump onto the actual one now so that you can see. So the naming conventions, I think, are very important, because if this is standard, we want it to be easy to update and track. And eventually there are going to be hundreds of these managed by a few layers in the team. And I'm not going to be the one that's actually making these and keeping them updated. But if we start on the right foot, we're good to go. So as you can see up here, it's the same. And these will all relate to the Airtable column names. And eventually, Zapier will probably create these templates based just on the Airtable. So you've got name, stage, which relates to the stage that it's in. And that will be used for basically giving different people in the organization with different access levels the right access to the right tasks. Category, which is WordPress build for this one. SOP, the brand, North Rule. I put North Rule SEO in there. That's who we're really doing. And then the date. In here, we've got name, which is the same. So what this will look like is name, the category, so what job it is, what stage, who's the owner. I think this is important because keeping on top of these SOPs eventually will be someone else's responsibility, and we need to know if there's a problem with one, who do we go and talk to? The last updated, this is also important because if you hit an SOP that's dusty and it's not been updated for a while and there's a problem, you need to be able to quickly see this is not been updated for a year. Of course, the platform has changed. Add that to the list of SOPs that need to be updated. Details. This top section is the meta, the header. So I think people learn better from video and some people learn better from step-by-steps. I want to have both. The video is very clear because you can watch this video and see the platform or see the job being done and you can mimic this. Whereas if you're step-by-step kind of person, the steps are there and you can follow those. Done looks like, I think this is important, and I heard this from a podcast. I wish I could remember what podcast. But basically, once this condition is met, the SOP is done and you can mark that off. This has to be very clear. So for this one, it's temporary domain set up in SiteGround account with WordPress admin account created. If you don't have both of these steps, the job's not done and you need to go back. And then onto the steps. So this will all be done with Loom. I'm a big fan of Loom. And each SOP has the video, has the steps. And yeah, that's about it. So just to recap, you film yourself doing the task, you take the transcript from the task, you give it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT uses this particular prompt. Please make me an SOP from this transcript, simple language, no fluff. I'll probably customize that a bit more later. That result, that answer goes into steps. You get the Loom video link, what done looks like, who's the owner, when's it last updated, what stage it is. Make sure everything is in the right folder and following the right naming convention. That then gets put into the Airtable database so that anybody that's assigned that task can easily know exactly what they need to do, what done looks like, everyone is happy. If there's a problem, it's not the employee's fault, it's a problem with the process. Let me know what you think. If you've got some tips on this, please let me know in the comments because I'm very new to this. This is just what I've come up with from a few hours of research and reading the Checklist Manifesto, the E-Myth, and Work the System. 3 books that I've been reading on this. If you like what I'm doing here, subscribe to this channel, put a like on this video, and you can follow along with how I am outsourcing this whole agency and moving from freelancer to agency owner. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.